7 April 1945. The sky over Germany is the color of cold iron when Klaus Hahn, 17 missions short of his 19th birthday, pushes the throttle of his battered Bf-109 and rises alone to meet the bomber's stream. He belongs to Sonderkommando Elbe, the squadron invented in desperation. One engine, one young man, one chance to slice an American fortress from the sky with the splintered blade of his own aircraft. Somewhere behind him, the rest of his swarm have already dissolved into contrails and panic. Ahead, the bomber boxes glint like black crucifixes in the sun. Klaus licks his lips, tastes metal and winter, and whispers the only prayer he still remembers from church rubble Sundays. Let me matter for 60 seconds. Then the Mustangs arrive. They drop out of the glare, four shark gray angels of merciless geometry, .50 cals already winking. Klaus jerks the stick. The 109 answers like a tired old cart horse. A hole the size of a fist appears in his left wing, another in the armor plate behind his head. He feels the aircraft shudder, hears the engine cough, realizes the armorers have given him exactly 60 rounds, enough to announce his presence, not enough to defend it. The first burst walks across the cockpit, rips the instrument panel into spinning confetti, and punches his left arm so hard the limb simply goes silent. No pain, no blood yet, only the absurd discovery that the throttle lever will not move because the arm that should move it has stopped belonging to him. Upside down, the world becomes a cathedral of cloud. Klaus fumbles for the latch, meaning to fall out and let the war finish without him. The wounded arm flops against the canopy like a dead thing, refuses to obey, and in that moment the clouds tear open and he sees them. B-17s stacked in perfect murderous layers, the same silhouette that used to hover above his neighborhood while he huddled in a cellar and felt the earth jump. Memory slams into him, mother's hand over his mouth so the smoke would not make him cough, the high whine that ends in brick dust and lullabies cut short. Fury arrives faster than thought. He forgets the parachute, forgets the pain, forgets the arm that will not work. He rolls upright, jams the stick forward with his right hand and dives. The bomber he picks is in the heart of the box, a single beating artery among 20. Klaus does not see the ball turret spinning, does not see the cheek gunners track him. He sees only the black cross on his own cowling and the rectangle of aluminum he intends to make disappear. The 109 accelerates, engine howling like an animal that knows it is being sacrificed. At the last heartbeat he thinks, this is not courage. This is the bill for every burnt pram, every piano reduced to wires. Then the world becomes noise, splinters, and the wet crunch of metal biting metal. Inside the B, called Red 4, tail gunner Jimmy Stroud feels the sky kick him in the spine. He is no longer in the tail. He is rolling across the waste catwalk among spent shell cases and the smell of hydraulic fluid. Up front, pilot Bud Wentz fights the yoke that has suddenly turned to stone. "What the hell just kissed us?" he radios. Navigator's voice comes back thin. "Whole rudder's gone, elevator S hanging by a thread. We're a freight train with no brakes." Wentz looks at the useless pedals, feels the aircraft wallow, and understands that the only steering wheel left is the 4 throttles under his right hand. He eases the left engines, nudges the right, and the wounded fortress leans obediently away from the formation like a drunk trying not to swear in church. Below, Klaus tumbles through 15 feet of cold nothing. He has no memory of leaving the cockpit. One moment he was inside the scream, the next he is a rag doll in the slipstream. The parachute handle knocks against his chest. He pulls at 30, far too late for comfort, far too early for despair. The canopy blooms white, snaps him upright, and the pain finally arrives, red, nauseating, complete. He watches his own blood drip from the fingers of the glove that will never close again, and laughs once, a sound like a cracked bell. I am still falling, but slower. In the bomber, altitude bleeds away one hesitant foot at a time. Wentz coaxes, curses, and coaxes again, playing 4 engines like a broken harmonica. The German countryside tilts beneath them, patchwork fields still stitched with the scars of last night's bombing. Co-pilot scans the horizon, calls out every chimney and church steeple as if they are old friends. Field at 2 o'clock, short strip, could be ours, could be theirs. Wentz shrugs. Choice is a luxury they forfeited when the sky punched them. He lines up, waits until the last birch tree disappears under the nose, and yells, "Gear now." The wheels drop like an afterthought, meet the concrete once, bounce, kiss again, and hold. The fortress rolls to a stop, surrounded by silence so complete they can hear their own hearts insult them for still beating. A single American soldier walks out of a hangar, helmet askew, cigarette glowing. "You boys are off the map," he drawls. "Front lines 10 miles that away and moving like a scared cat." Wentz starts to answer when Gunner Stroud tugs his sleeve. "Skipper, look." On the far side of the field sits another B-17, no markings, engines humming with stolen health. It wears German yellow on the wingtips, but the rest is still olive drab, like a wolf caught mid-molt. KG-200's orphan, left behind when the decoy unit fled. The crew cross themselves, swap a glance that asks permission from every god they no longer believe in, and climb aboard. They take the souvenir anyway, a jagged shard of Klaus's wing, still smeared with Luftwaffe blue, and lash it inside the radio room like a talisman. Engines catch, throttles advance, and the second fortress of the day lifts into the evening. No guns, no bombs, no escort, just 9 men and one sliver of the enemy welded to their survival. They skim the North Sea at wave-top height, certain every shadow is a prowling 109, until the white cliffs rise like forgiveness. When the wheels touch English soil for the second time, Wentz lets the engines cough themselves quiet and discovers his hands are shaking too hard to shut off the mags. Someone hands him a cigarette. Someone else hands him a telegram from the Red Cross. "Home safe, stop, Mary, M.E. stop." He folds it into the pocket that still smells of cordite and wonders how much of the war you can fit into one day. Klaus wakes in a Münster hospital to the sound of a nurse humming Gershwin. His left sleeve is pinned neatly where the arm used to begin. Outside the window, cherry blossoms drift across the courtyard like tiny surrender flags. A doctor tells him the war has 1 month left to live. Klaus thinks of the bomber he rammed and asks whether anyone survived. The doctor does not know. 60 years later, an email written in hesitant German finds him in a retirement home by the Rhine. It contains a photograph of 9 old men standing in front of a polished B-17, arms slung over one another's shoulders, and a single sentence: "You gave us a story we could tell our grandchildren." Klaus closes the laptop, touches the empty sleeve, and cries without sound so the nurse will not hear. The Sonderkommando Elbe never numbered more than 150 boys. They were supposed to buy the Reich 6 weeks. They bought it 6 days. Allied briefing officers filed the ramming reports under miscellaneous and never knew they had been under deliberate assault. History rolled on, indifferent as weather. But somewhere in a drawer in Colorado, Bud Wentz kept the shard of blue aluminum. And somewhere in a drawer in Wuppertal, Klaus Hahn kept the telegram that arrived 30 years too late. No one died that day. The objects are small, light enough to be lifted by the same wind that once carried 2 aircraft toward each other at 500 miles an hour, but heavy enough to steady the hands of old men who still wake tasting aluminum and cordite.